So what's happened, everyone? First off, good morning, afternoon. I don't know when you're watching this. It's probably late at night and you're sitting at home in your PJs. Moral of the story, I'm Anton Stettner with the Real Estate Solutions Group. Today we're going to talk about the $25 billion mortgage settlement, Robo Siging deal, whatever the heck you want to call it, in relation to, what's been going on. Everyone's seen this came out in the news. I think it came out, basically early in February. It came out with Ally Financial, Bank of America, the Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo. All of them have reached an attorney settlement, a settlement over what was it all about? The Attorney General said there were alleged allegations of foreclosure abuses. And so this was a $25 billion settlement that came about out of those, the public outcry after the review from the Robo Siging. What does this really mean? So what does this really mean? It actually means very little for borrowers that were foreclosed on. And it's going to be pretty small payments that they will receive, probably as little as $2,000 for people that were foreclosed on incorrectly, or just some of the ones that were foreclosed on during the last 4 years. Most of the money will actually go out of that $25 billion, in the form of refinances, shorts, and possibly principal reduction for people who are underwater. The best thing for banks is banks now know how much money they owe, so it's kind of a definitive number. They say the settlement may actually rise, but it won't rise a ton from where it's currently at. The banks also have 3 years to pay back on their obligations. So what's really been happening is these banks have been gathering up their money. The money's been sitting on the sidelines, and there's been this major uncertainty in relation to this. They weren't really sure what they were going to do, but they've already had the money. The money's been sitting on the sidelines. What's it mean? I mean, it means rising foreclosures for us, okay? Specifically here in the state of Washington. I'm going to explain why in here in a second. So the implications from this are, we have reduced uncertainty for the banks because they've reached a settlement agreement, they kind of know what's going on, they can take their capital they've got in reserves and deploy it out over here. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm not saying I agree with what's happening, I'm just telling you what I believe is going to happen. Secondly, this is going to provide some relief to existing homeowners who are underwater behind on their mortgage. Theoretically, it's going to be an end to some of the abusive practices. And then lastly, and I think kind of the main thing that we want to talk about, is it's going to cause an increase in foreclosures. So what's happened, here's the graph. So what's happened in this graph, as you can notice, is that it's trending in a downward direction for notice of trustee sales. Why is that? Ever since the Robo Siging thing happened, we've seen notice of trustee sales decline because banks have been reviewing their foreclosure process, they've been slowing them down. However, we have not seen bank-owned inventory decline. So what we're believing here is that we haven't hit a bottom. What we've actually seen is just a stall in the process. So with things like lower unemployment, inflation being higher, it's definitely higher than the target rate of 2%. With GDP growing, see, the banks are feeling a little bit more confident, so what they're going to do is they're going to go back to their foreclosure processes, and what we'll see Washington foreclosures rise because of it. Because the only reason it went down before was because of an artificial thing affecting the economy, and that was, theoretically, once again, alleged foreclosure abusive practices. So, just on a final note, the thoughts are, because of this big settlement, some owners will get help, okay? Some of them are actually going to get refis, maybe principal reductions, short sales are going to get easier, but I think we're going to see an increase in the total number of foreclosures just because now banks know what they have to deal with. And with improving economic indicators, it makes sense for them to get through this real quick before any other problems arise. They're going to, we're not going to see a tidal wave, but we're going to see a rise from where we're at today in the total number of foreclosures here in the state of Washington. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Leave me your thoughts and comments below, and we will update more as you go. Thanks a lot, people.